Welcome back to the Football House, presented by House Enterprise, the week 12 of our college football pick'em show. It's the graveyard shift. Some late night football talk with Sam Basil, Jake Zimmer, and myself, Will Tondo. Some scheduling going on. A lot of House Enterprise content creators now. We lost our space for the Football House, but it's all right. We're still bringing you some picks. We have to do our God's work before Thanksgiving to make sure that our picks are live streamed. So, gentlemen, welcome back. How are we doing tonight?
Just was really excited to see it. He said, we might go past 10 o'clock, and I was like, dude, I got a roast in the oven. I got to take it out right at 10 o'clock. So I was able to. It's cooling off right now, but I think it's coming along really well. Oh.
Oh no,
that was 15 minutes joke, and it did not work the way that I thought it was going to. And I think it was so bad that we're losing Jake's connection here.
No, it wasn't. It was a manual button. It was a manual button there. That was a stop.
You couldn't even get the finger right.
I know. It was like.
That was not below the belt. I will say. So.
I don't. It was in the pot though. So.
All right.
The other rule is below the belt or in the pot.
Are you okay? You just had both your AirPods fall out.
Graveyard shift, man. I'm losing it.
All bets are off.
All bets are off. So we do have someone videoing in. This is from our West Coast correspondent, Gracie Marks, sent us a video before we kick things off.
What's up, guys? Sorry I couldn't be there this week. First off, don't stop fucking betting on Tulane frauds. Number 2, rivalry week. It's time to fight the fuck on. Fight on. USC by a million. USC money line. 100 fucking units. Fight on. Fight on. It's not even a rivalry. I think it's going to be less than 40% capacity at the Rose Bowl, but we're going to fight on anyways. Let's go.
And just to add on to the graveyard shift, fight the fuck on.
Fight the fuck on.
USC better be playing that in the locker room, like pregame. That got me.
I kind of want to run through a brick wall. Right now.
What?
Like I said, I kind of want to run through a brick wall right now.
Yeah.
10:47 on a Wednesday night, and we're fighting the fuck on. So let's take a look at our standings, which are becoming a little razor thin. Cole Hughes can't join us tonight because he's got a 5 a.m. flight, respectively so, but he holds the first place spot, followed by myself right on his tail. Basil's coming in with 55.85. Gilly's at a flat 55. Gracie is at 54.63%. Mr. Zimmer, 49.5. He's moving up the chains.
Get there.
And Clubfoot Jim, who's probably at his girlfriend's house, is
wow.
So
he is under he's under me now. I don't know how that happened.
He is under you. So that's what you're gonna get from the graveyard shit. Ricochet shots and some blasphemy takes. But all right, we'll kick it off with you, Zim. Let's get things going. Let's see your card. Let's see what we got this week.
Okay. I went with big spreads. I am defaulting on one simple principle, and it's that these teams are either A, playing really shitty opponents, or B, have been on fire. You want the on fire ones first. Let's go to Ohio State. Yes, they're playing Maryland, who is sort of stuck around. But you saw what Ohio State has been doing to middle-of-the-road football teams, especially in their own conference. They've been kicking their hopeless asses. So I'm trusting my gut. I'm not overanalyzing this. Ohio State winning by 4 touchdowns? Sure. I don't care that it's on the road in College Park. This might be the best team in college football. Laying the cards on the table. CJ Stroud. He might be the Heisman winner. Just throwing it out there. Don't overthink minus 27. Same with Tennessee, although their opponent does suck. I'll tell you what. Hooker versus Spencer Rattler equals more than 3 touchdowns of a spread. I'm sold up for it, or I'm sold on that. How about Washington minus 31? This is a steep one, but Colorado's 1-8. Again, not thinking about it. Not thinking. Washington minus 31. And Tulane is back on the trust tree. I'm not going to stop betting them because Gracie told me to. So I'm riding the wave. Yes, they were fraudulent last week, but I'm keeping the faith in the green wave. Those are my picks. For lock, listen, Basil is fading me here, but I think Utah is a better team than Oregon. I don't care that it's on the road. Utah has shown us what they can do. They have some really high-quality wins, and I just think they're a better football team. You saw what Oregon did against Georgia early in the year. Yes, it was very early. Yes, it was. They were still trying to get their wits about them. I'm worried that Utah could run away with it just like Georgia did. So that's my lock. And then in the FCS world, LIU stinks. Sacred Heart's good. It's that simple. Moneyline goes to the Pioneers. We'll come back to our Ivy League quadrants later, potentially, so Sam can walk us through the crazy scenarios, but that's a card.
Technical difficulties. All right. Yeah. We have, yes, you saw on Twitter before, but Ivy League championship is absolute chaos. And we have a pundit square of what's going on in the in the Ivy League world. But all right, Mr. Basil, we'll swing it over to you. Let's hear your card and let's see how you do. We got no audio from Mr. Basil.
I am muted. All right.
Everything's broken.
Late shift, baby. All right. So, Jake, I respect the Utah +3 pick. I know we're at odds here, but, I'm not trying to fade you. I'm not trying to, go against you. I think this is a very respectable game that can go either way, but I'm going to have to lean towards it because even though, they had a tough loss to Washington recently, it seems like, their defense is kind of letting people run away with the scores a little bit. I think Bo Nix is finally starting to figure it out. Does he have another year of eligibility? I can't really remember, but you know what? I think this was a tough year for him, and hopefully, he'll be looking to bounce back. Ducks are out of playoff contention. I think it's pretty solidified now. I don't really think they have even making it to the Pac-12 championship, which could have some playoff implications. But I'm gonna have to go Oregon -3 here. Just close the season out with a couple decent wins. USC, I'm fighting on, baby. UCLA football has looked really, really rough this year. And again, speaking of the Pac-12, USC needs to win this game if they want to stay alive in the playoff race. It's even with a win here. I mean, look, they're gonna need to blow UCLA out, and so I think giving them a 1.5 point spread is kind of underselling the intensity with which they'll be entering this game, right? Which is kind of like the theme for a lot of the picks here. It's just a lot of big playoff implications on both sides, of Division I football. So I'm gonna have to ride with the Trojans here. Air Force, Colorado State. Not a lot of playoff implications here in this one, but just another one that I really like. Service Academy unders, people. I'm telling you, Service Academy unders. These teams love to run the ball, and Air Force not only does Air Force have one of the best running offenses in the entire country, and their pass offense is all right. Their defense in the pass game is top 20. That is remarkable for one of the best Air Force teams that we've seen in a long time. Colorado State is not that good. I'm really feeling confident with these unders after Penn State and Maryland. Penn State won 30-0, smoked that under 59. So I'm going to have to go under 43.5 again. I might save my I'm going to save my my Punnett squares here with my Ivy League Punnett squares for just a second, and I'm going to go to my FCS lock of the week. Again, in the FCS, another huge playoff implication for Dayton versus Davidson. These two teams usually square off in great matchups in Atlantic 10 basketball, but this week they're playing each other for a spot, for the single playoff spot, for the auto bid for the Pioneer Football League. If you're not familiar with the Pioneer Football League, I recommend you check it out. It is a really interesting conference with a lot of, hodgepodge teams east of the Mississippi River. Because FCS football is kind of weird and it's a lot of schools playing in conferences that don't actually sponsor football, they're usually finding themselves in other places. Fordham in the Patriot League, Richmond in the CAA. But the Pioneer Football League is really unique in the fact that it is a conference that only exists for football. So you've got schools like Dayton, Davidson, Drake, and this year the new addition, St. Thomas, who, although they are currently 7-0 in Pioneer football play and are, could, by all the books be considered the champions, they are not playoff eligible because they are still only in their second year of Division I football. And so Dayton, currently riding a 5-game win streak, is going to look to make it 6 and clinch a spot, the Pioneer football automatic spot in the FCS playoffs. So that's one that I really like. South Carolina plus 21.5 over Tennessee. That's my FBS lock of the week. Tennessee's really good. I think they could make the playoffs. I want to put an asterisk on that because there is just so much. They are not in control of their own destiny right now, unfortunately for the Vols. But these last couple games, they lost to Georgia, and they're not blowing teams out. And South Carolina, yes, they are in the bottom half of the SEC, but the bottom half of the SEC is still full of really, really good programs. And we've seen that with South Carolina, especially defensively. I mean, they got some guys that can get some really good takeaways here. And I think, they'll give Tennessee just enough trouble to, lose by 20 points. Losing by 20 points is a cover. And I don't think we've seen a lot of big 20-point gaps in SEC versus SEC games this year. So I'm going to have to ride with the Gamecocks for plus 21.5.
Nice card. All right, I will swing it over to myself. So I got Navy plus 16.5 versus UCF. Little recency bias here. I think Navy can easily cover this despite UCF obviously beating Tulane last week. I'm riding with Zimmer on the Utah plus 3 pick against Oregon. I think there's some merit to give them respect on this matchup. I like Duke plus 7.5 versus Pitt. Duke likes to cover, and I don't think Pitt's very good, so I'm taking that. Ole Miss minus 2.5 versus Arkansas. I think that's a low spread. I'm not too impressed with the Arkansas Razorbacks, so I like Ole Miss chances here. NC State plus 4 against Louisville, ranked team against Louisville. I know it's a home game for them, but that's a little disrespectful here. Then I got UConn plus 10.5 versus Army. Love my UConn Huskies and their covering abilities. Timothy Mora, he will ride with me on this pick, so I'll take the 10.5. My lock of the week for FBS is LSU minus 14.5 versus UAB. I know UAB can put up some points, but if LSU is, destined for great things and they keep, making some splashes this season, I think they should easily cruise past UAB. And then my FCS, which I guess is a little bit of a cheat because it's Alabama, but Austin, how do you pronounce it? Pia?
Austin P.
Austin P. They're pushing P covering 41 against Bama.
Pushing P. Oh.
They're pushing P, 41-point spread against Bama. They just I think they're 8-3. I think they put up points. I'm not too familiar with Austin P, so I think 41 points is hefty. I think Alabama gives up in the third quarter, and we'll have that spread cover.
Here, what's their record?
Awesome. Well, you better watch out though, because remember what happened with Syracuse and Wagner. if Alabama really starts blowing out Austin P, they could shift to 10-minute quarters in the second half, and if that happens, even if they win, if Austin P covers, like, you might get your money back. So just be wary of that.
Yeah, the bet'll push, but I'm looking for the win columns right now.
Yeah. Don't you guys aren't you a little grossed out by the fact that Alabama, and there's one more I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are 2 FBS versus FCS games in November?
It's chalk.
Like, we're in the last week of the FCS regular season, and you're still picking teams. That's like Alabama's done this before too. Don't remember they played the Citadel like 2018, like week 11 or 12, and it's just weird. It's just wrong. I don't know. I'll get off my high horse.
No, I agree, because a team like, Alabama's not going to be making the playoffs this. Well, I don't think Alabama will be making the playoffs this year. They could probably still sneak in, but this doesn't help their resume.
If I could add one more to my card, I think I threw this in when we were in the planning stages of tonight, but I didn't see it make it on. Again, going with my theme of big playoff implication games. Well, not playoff, but conference championship implications. I am also going to ride with the wave again. Money line versus SMU. They have, yes, that loss to UCF was still rough last week, but they still have a path to the American Conference Championship. If they beat SMU and then they beat Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has already lost to UCF, we could see a Tulane UCF rematch in the American. So just I roll wave one more time.
You gonna ride it on your card, or on money line or spread?
On the money line, because they have to win it to have a chance at making the conference championship game. So
I will add. So I guess we'll kick things off first. Basil, if you want to explain to us this Ivy League pundit square.
Yeah, so this is actually courtesy of the college football subreddit, which, if you're a college football nerd such as myself and you like looking at some of the weird stuff, great resource. They give you a lot of the nitty-gritty. I wanted to talk about this at first because I know since it's the last week of the FCS regular season, this is when all the big FCS rivalries happen, especially in the Ivy League, because as we know, and as we've complained about on this show, they don't go to the playoffs. The Ivy League championship is it for them, and it's a regular season championship. So obviously Harvard, Yale, the two big games of championship implications are Harvard, Yale, and then Princeton, Penn. And right now, Princeton and Yale are at the top of the Ivy League standings with 1 loss each, and Harvard and Penn each have 2 losses. And so there are also no tiebreaker scenarios. So if you're both 4-1, like say Yale is and Princeton are tied at 5-1 in the regular season, and even though one of them might have beaten the other, there are no tiebreakers. So they are co-champions. So we've got 4 scenarios for you guys here for how the Ivy League championship is going to play out, and it's all based on the results of these games. So again, courtesy of Reddit's college football, if Princeton wins and Yale wins, again, if Princeton beats Penn and Yale beats Harvard, we have a Princeton-Yale co-championship. If Princeton wins and Harvard wins, Princeton are the solo Ivy League champions. If Yale wins and Penn wins, Yale are the solo Ivy League champs. However, if Harvard and Penn both win, we will have 4 teams, all 4 of these teams raising a co-Ivy League champions banner. We have had before 3 co-champions, but we have never had 4 win the Ivy League championship in the same season. So we kind of went around, kind of instead of picking a result of the game, picked a quadrant. So I think that's really fun. I guess I'll start off with myself. Let me pull up my notes here. Honestly, I don't really see any scenario, especially after what happened to Penn last week, I really see no reason why they would come out on top against Princeton. I mean, Princeton, even outside the Ivy League, is a top 25 FCS team. It's just another thing where, like, if they win the Ivy League championship, it's just going to make me mad because, I mean, I would love to see where this team goes, right? But they can't go any farther past this Saturday. So I think they're gonna clinch it. So we're gonna at least see them raise a banner. And then Yale, in the Ivy League right now, Harvard has the second best rusher, and then Yale has 1, 3, 4, and 5. So I mean, Yale has just an excellent ground game. I think they're gonna blow past Harvard, and we are going to see Princeton and Yale as co-Ivy champs.
I agree in some points, but I'm putting my cards on the table for some chaos. So I have the opposite, actually. I have Harvard money line and Penn money line because I want the 4 Ivy League co-champs. I want the chaos in the Ivy. I want to make things interesting. So I'm going to ride with Harvard and Penn to make it 4.
You're on mute, Jake.
You're on mute.
Dark hours. Sorry. I've got Yale over Harvard. I've got Penn over Princeton because Penn just got insulted. They need a big win. And then all of a sudden, Yale wins outright. I don't know. I'm liking how Yale's responded this year to a new challenge, right? Last year didn't end all too great. They lost to Holy Cross. They lost to Dartmouth in overtime. They hung with UConn at the end of the year, but that was when UConn sucked. So a little bit of adversity for Yale. They overcame it. They haven't lost since week 1. Excuse me. They haven't lost. When did they lose? They lost to Penn, but that's their only Ivy League loss. I really think Yale could pick them off here. So let's see what happens. Yale also beat Princeton for what it's worth. So I don't know. I think Princeton, you catch them on an off week, you catch Penn in a week that has to they have to avenge themselves. That's a statement win right there.
I think we're the only football podcast.
I think it's so dope. I think it's awesome, but I just think they got to take some steps to make it a bit more fair on a national stage. I think there's advantages to what they're doing, but I think overall, if you think about it, 30 years ago, none of their sports competed in the postseason, right? And they've slowly been adding them back in. Basketball just implemented postseason conference tournaments probably 5-6 years ago, and football is the only one that's holding out. So I think as frustrating as it is, I wouldn't be surprised if in maybe the next couple of years they take another look at it, but who knows.
It was mayhem in lacrosse last year too with Ivy stuff because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 programs that play Ivy League lacrosse. There's only 4 that get into the tournament. 6 of them are ranked nationally. So you have Harvard, who doesn't get into the Ivy League tournament, and same with Princeton too, who both win games in the national tournament that don't even make their own conference tournament. How crazy is that? It's just so much mayhem. I'm glad the Ivy League's back in all sports because I didn't know I was missing this shit. And here I am. Now I can't live without it.
Yeah, I mean, even in football too, it's getting to a point where not only are they not competing in the postseason, but they're refusing, or not refusing, but for example, Columbia, and because they're not really competing in the postseason, I think it's kind of hurting the quality of play a little bit. Now they're afraid to schedule schools like Fordham. Like Columbia has kind of halted, scheduling their annual matchups with Fordham just because we don't want to go in and get smoked against a team that is actually trying to compete for the playoffs every year. So it's I don't know. Are these teams just gonna just keep getting worse and just keep playing each other? It's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. So that's talking Ivy. That's talking Ivy. We'll go to game of the week first because it's a game that I've not watched a lot of Montana State football. And I mean, again, we're not going to ride on the Tulane bullshit anymore, but it should have been Tulane last week, but it is what it is. College game day is Montana State versus Montana. And I'm pretty sure unanimously across the board, just checking with you, Basil, everyone's got Montana State. Sorry, Montana.
I mean, look, this Montana State team is one that, they're challenging again. They're challenging for a Big Sky championship against another really good team, Sacramento State. They actually do not play each other by the end of the regular season, so I think Montana State's best outcome in the conference is co-champions. But no matter what, they're making the playoffs, and they made the FCS national championship game last year. So they're coming in hot. They want to keep that momentum that they built on last year, and they're really good. I feel like as much as we were mad about Tulane missing the cut for College game day, this is a very deserved College game day for both of these teams. And so for my pick, I think what really motivated me to go for this pick, as you both know, and anyone who might read the blog regularly might know, aside from basketball and football, I'm kind of a big bull riding guy. And at the PBR tour, their main rodeo clown is this guy that's been going around for years, decades now, Flint Rasmussen, and his favorite team is Montana State. I mean, last year when they were in the national championship game, the same year that the PBR was in the Garden, he was rocking a full Montana State rodeo clown suit. So for my boy Flint, I'm gonna have to go Montana State to win and cover easily 1.5 points en route to a deep FCS playoff run.
If you are an OG House Enterprise fan, Sam Basil and
real ones know.
That's when
this was real talk about keeping the lights on.
Yeah, we're building it up, and was that was the PBR the first event you went to under House?
No, I mean I did basketball stuff. I've done basketball
first year
stuff
was
under
COVID.
House. Well, what do you mean? Well, so I was covering basketball in person during the pandemic.
True.
Yeah.
For the House. But I guess the first non-regular singular event. This is the first. Yeah, that was the first event for that House that I covered. That's out of our normal wheelhouse. Yeah.
What a
Keep
world.
the lights on.
And I'll be back.
Basil.
I'm trying to get back there in
We're
January.
on the top of the world now, making picks on Montana State and Montana on a Wednesday night at 11:15. Yeah, for Montana State, I went and looked at the last couple of games, and Marquis Johnson, listed as a wide receiver, but had 4 rushing touchdowns for 242 yards last week against Cal Poly. That's a stat I look at and say, there's no stopping these guys. This should be a pretty good game. I don't know what the line will be. I would probably venture to say that I'd be on that side as well.
It's 1.5.
Oh, it's only 1.5. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think they could win by a touchdown for sure. The way they've been scoring lately, they've got 3 capable quarterbacks. Bozeman is also beautiful. It is a fantastic, beautiful venue.
No need to repeat the efforts. I agree on that. And, in Yellowstone fashion, I will also be riding Montana State. So we'll swing it over to our rivalry, which, Basil, I know you have some background history on it. So let's hear it.
Yeah, so this is the Bedlam series. A little bit of a bittersweet Bedlam series because we are kind of nearing the end of this long, over a century old rivalry being an intra-conference matchup, as you know, I'm sure a lot of people listening will know that Oklahoma and Texas are on their way out of the Big 12. So by 2025, I believe, there won't be a regular Bedlam game every year. I mean, I'm sure, like Georgia Tech. I mean, I'm sure it's one of those things where they'll try to schedule it every year. But again, just like the wagon wheel between Akron and Kent State, the Bedlam series is one that transcends football. It's something that goes on for all their sports that they play against each other every year. Baseball, soccer, on the website now, the events they've got listed are cross country, lacrosse. And while there hasn't been a consistent, looking trophy, the Bedlam series has been super important for both these schools for so long. And actually, if you're when you're looking at why it's called the Bedlam series, there's a little bit of, multiple interpretations. I think, just, the fact that these two schools are, so historic and, given the gritty, Midwestern, almost Southern culture. I mean, Bedlam is almost a perfect word for it, right? But according to the Oklahoma State website, the name comes from the fact that the two schools early on in the 40s, 50s, and 60s were top tier wrestling schools. I mean, both schools have a huge portion of national wrestling championships, and the turnouts for matches between these two schools would be insane. So they haven't been able to attribute this to a specific person, but Oklahoma State on the website says that the series got its name by a newspaper reporter leaving the gym and turning to someone and going, "It's Bedlam in there." So, and for some reason that's stuck. Seems a little bit too mythical for my taste, but I think, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt in this one. In terms of the football series, I think overall the series has been pretty close, but in football, not so much. Since their first meeting in 1904, they've met 116 times. Oklahoma, the Sooners have won 90 of those. But most recently, and look, Oklahoma State's wins in between are, very far apart from each other. But they've currently got the trophy right now. They won last year an amazing 37-33 game, and they'll look to, contend again this year. But Oklahoma, I think, is too hungry. They're out of the contention for the Big 12 championship. Not even thinking about, any sort of like college football playoff. But they need a win here to, maintain their bowl eligibility and stay, chasing a solid bowl, come December, come January. So I think they'll take it. They've been a really good team this year. They've been solid. But I think Oklahoma State's going to give them a game, and they'll cover that 7.5 point spread.
I have the same exact thing. I mean, you hit the hammer on the nail with, to become bowl eligible, Oklahoma needs this win. And I mean, Oklahoma State was one of the hottest teams, and their offense just crashed. They had some bad losses to Kansas State and Kansas. They did pick one up against Iowa State, but is that enough? I think because it's the rivalry, because it's the environment, because it's a state matchup, that they do cover. But I like Oklahoma's chances to win. And also, I like the cover for Oklahoma State because I believe Oklahoma, they're 5-5, but they're 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. So I'll take the 7.5 points on that as well.
Yeah, I feel like the general theme tonight here has been like, these last 2 weeks of November are crazy for college football because we're nearing the end, conference championships, and I think people are trying to debate whether or not this week or next week, because you've got Michigan, Ohio State, the Iron Bowl, which week is rivalry week, and to me it doesn't really matter because we got 2 great slates in a row. But this week I really think is desperation week because there are so many different implications, crucial implications for so many programs on both sides of Division I football this week that it's just going to be crazy. You're going to be seeing teams playing their asses off right before bowl season, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, nothing additional to add for me here. Oklahoma money line, Oklahoma State covering. Oklahoma just runs the football so well. 221 yards a game on foot, 23rd in the nation for that. And then you go up against a defense with, they allow more than they like. I guess it's, right in the middle of the pack with 164th overall in the nation in all levels. I don't know how much those mean, but if you let Oklahoma run the football and dictate the pace on their home turf, I think they're going to win this. Might come down to a score, which is why I think the Cowboys cover here. Nothing additional to add.
Yeah, I think a consensus across the board for game of the week and the rivalry game is what we have. So let's hope the team eats. Let's hope everybody eats, and let's hope Zimmer and Clubfoot Jim get over 500, and so we can make this some 500 football from the crew. But anything else to add, gentlemen?
I just need one pick. That's it.
Yeah.
One pick to get there.
I got two things. First off, I mentioned at the end of last week's show, but congrats to Navy for winning the sprint football championship against Army. And now we've got a new sprint football league popping up with some smaller schools, the Midwest Sprint Football League, that just finished their inaugural season this year. So let's hope over the next couple of years we'll get some sort of like sprint football world championship game, because that'll be really fun. And also make sure, because this is the last week of regular season FCS football, if you've got a team on the bubble, make sure you're going to watch the FCS selection show that's this Sunday at noon. I don't know where they're going to be streaming it, probably online somewhere, but that'll be really big. A lot of really good teams there's going to be a really good team that misses the cut, I think.
Is that team Fordham?
No, it is not.
Fordham makes the cut.
Yeah, I think it could be like a Davidson or a Dayton. Really, like that game's going to be really important for who misses the cut.
I'm at the point of the season where, because college basketball is blending in, I'm forgetting like which teams are like good at which sport. Like,
I know.
It's like Davidson and Dayton. Like, I don't know. But,
well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, both teams are so good right now that no one's talking about their football program. So it's like, that's all right.
That's all right.
So.
Well, that is our show. Week 12, the graveyard shift. I think we need to fight on one more time before we close it out. So,
what's up, guys? Sorry I couldn't be there this week. First off, don't stop fucking betting on Tulane frauds. Number 2, rivalry week. It's time to fight the fuck on. Fight on. USC by a million. USC money line. 100 fucking units. Fight on. Fight on. It's not even a rivalry. I think it's going to be less than 40% capacity at the Rose Bowl, but we're going to fight on anyways. Let's go.
I didn't realize she said stop betting on Tulane, because it sounded like she said don't stop betting on Tulane.
I think it said stop because they're frauds.
Well,
I'm
going to give it one last try.
Not for me. But that is our show. Week 12. Sam Basil, Jake Zimmer, and myself. We will catch you next week.